Hi everyone, it's Ann here from Ann Makes. Thanks so much for stopping by. If you're new here, please remember to subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below or on the Ann Makes in the corner of the screen. Today I'm off camera and this has been pre-filmed because it took different angles to get these shots. So what I have for you today is how I store all my paper scraps. And I should correct that, it's not exactly every single piece of paper scrap I have different things, but this is the majority of my paper scraps for paper crafting, for scrapbooking, card making, any type of paper crafting that I want to do, including stamping. This is what I do to corral those unruly scraps. Now this is my current system. I have a system of file folders that I have in a drawer that are, the drawers are made for holding 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. Those files, that file you see me holding right there is actually 8.5 by 11 size paper, but the bigger file that it's in with the metal top there, that's for 12, it's for 12 by 12. So this drawer is a recollections drawer from Michaels. It sits under my desk. It's right beside me where I'm working, so it's very convenient for me. But as you can see and the video I'm showing you here is that these files are bulky. They are bulging, and it's getting challenging to pull out my little file of scraps whenever I need them, because all the smaller pieces fall to the bottom. So I was getting a little frustrated the other day because I needed a whole bunch of different colored scraps, and every time I was pulling out a file to find the small scrap, it was hard to put it back. So I thought something has to be done, and this is what I came up with. Here I'm showing you the typical file folder. It's just an office file folder. This one happens to be white. The brand is from Creative Memories. I don't know if they still have this. This is something that I've had for many years. They are guaranteed to be acid-free, archival safe, etc., which is very important for scrapbookers. And I tend to mostly buy papers that are archival safe, acid-free, and when I'm still not sure if the piece of paper I'm going to use in a scrapbook is the quality I want it to be, I do test it with a pH value pen. Okay, so I take these folders, I use them for my scraps. Now I'm showing you that I like it to be flat, so it's easier to retrieve, and having this big bulge of scraps that falls down to the center is starting to get on my nerves. And all of those pieces that stick out, when I pull out a file, the pieces fall out. So I want to find a way to tidy this up. Before I put this file of scraps back into the hanging file inside the drawer, the first thing, of course, that I need to do is to purge this pile of scraps. After all, I don't need some of the tiniest pieces in there. So what I do is that each file folder is labeled with the color of scraps that will be in it. And then I've thought of, what if I put some pockets on one side of the folder to hold the scraps? And what I've done is I've taken a piece of regular 8.5 by 11 paper and folded it to see just how wide I need to make the pocket or pockets to add to the file folder. And because I really want to be able to see my scraps, that's the whole point of saving them, I thought of using a clear material, which is what I'm doing here with this kind of folio, 6-tab folio that's made of clear plastic that I got at Dollarama. I think it was $1.25. So for me, there's a lot of plastic in here for my $1.25. It will enable me to make a lot of pockets. This is an expandable folder. That's the correct name for this. Now, it doesn't matter what I use to do the pockets. I just wanted to have clear plastic. I had this on hand, and I thought, I'm going to get a lot of pockets out of this one expandable folder. And if I don't have enough of this one folder to do all my files, I will just find either another folder that is the same, or I will just get some other clear plastic office supply type of folder. First thing I had to do was remove the stubborn, sticky label. Starts off well, but then it becomes a little challenging. So of course, to help along the process, I get a little scraper tool. It's the same kind that we get to use with our, like if you have the Tim Holtz glass mat, or you could use an old credit card or gift card or something, and some Goo Gone, and that just helps to remove all of the label. Once the label has been removed, it is time to take a pair of scissors and cut apart the expandable folder in order to have nice large pieces of this clear plastic. As I'm taking apart this folder, I want to make the best use of the material that it's giving me. So I take my template just to see approximately just how many pockets I could get out of each piece of the folder, if that makes any sense, or each page, and approximately where I need to cut it apart. I will also compare that to the actual file folder to see just how big a pocket I can make to put in the folder without making it too big. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm placing the plastic over the file folder to see, okay, where should I cut the plastic so I waste the least amount possible, because I know I won't be able to use the entire piece, but I'm trying to get the most out of each piece. As I'm taking apart each section of the folder, I'm noticing that I am getting different sizes of plastic rectangles. So what I decided at this point is, because this is just to hold scraps in my files, I don't need to be very precise in the size of each pocket. The length the length of the plastic matters, yes, so it can fit inside the file folder, but the actual width or height of the pocket doesn't really matter. So what I do is I just fold each plastic page that I get out of the folder in half to find the center and cut, and that means I will have two pieces to make two pockets. The next thing I do is I take a scoring board and tool to make some score lines on the sides of the pocket and the bottom. I do that because I want to give each pocket a little bit of a gusset or a little bit of space, so I can actually fit more than 1 or 2 sheets of paper thickness or of scraps in each pocket. So I just double check the measurements over on the file folder, make some adjustments, score over an extra line, and then that will enable me to make a fold so the piece of plastic will fit appropriately on the side of the file folder. Once I found the sweet spot where to score the pocket fold I want to create, I have taken into consideration the width of the double-sided adhesive I will be doing, which if I remember correctly was 1/4 of an inch. That was an important factor to consider in how large that fold should be, so I could just apply the adhesive, and then I just fold the edges I've scored, and then in the corners there I just cut off the extra so it will enable the pocket to adhere into the file folder. Now you see me cut off like a little square there in the corner, but what I end up doing is I also end up cutting the bottom piece that is sticking out there from the pocket at a diagonal angle. Once I've scored and folded and trimmed all the edges of the piece of plastic, I double check to make sure that this is going to fit inside the file folder and work, and then I am ready for adhering the pocket in the next step. I've chosen to use the red line double-sided adhesive, and I do have some very skinny adhesive that's about like 1/8 of an inch, and I will make this first pocket with the 1/8 inch tape because I've already scored and folded it at that size, and then I prefer to use the 1/4 inch adhesive tape, so I will make adjustments to the bottom part of the fold on the following pockets. So I'm using this very skinny tape here, but the rest of the pockets I will just use the 1/4 inch tape because I find that it adheres the pocket better to the file folder and it tends to keep it there. So there you see there's the 1/4 inch tape, and I'm testing it on the side, and I really liked how the 1/4 inch tape was holding much better. Finally, it's time to try adhering the plastic pocket inside the file folder. I just need to make sure the folds are folded, scored very nicely, and remove the liner from the adhesive, and then fold the plastic So the adhesive part is on the file folder, and I also have to be careful which side I put it, because I don't want the pockets to be upside down. So that's just the next tricky part. But after I've done one folder, I get the hang of it, and I'm able to do all the rest the same way. To make the second or the upper pocket inside the file folder, I just repeat the previous steps of where I go to score the edges, the three edges, the two sides and the bottom of the pocket. This time I know that I need to score it at least a quarter of an inch so the adhesive will fit properly and it will give a better pocket. So I make that adjustment here, and I'm just going to score on, I believe it was the third line of the Dress My Craft mini scoreboard that I have, and just repeat the process of applying the double-sided adhesive, making sure the folds are straight, cutting off the excess at the corners, and that is how I complete the other files to store my scraps. A tip that I have to share is that I find that burnishing the adhesive strip to the piece of plastic really helps in making sure that that adhesive will remain stuck to the plastic when you go to remove the liner. As the two pockets are completed, now is time to test them to see how well this will hold the scraps that I have. After I've gone through my pile of scraps and discarded any scraps that were really too small that I didn't need to keep, or that were misplaced that belonged in another color file, I placed the largest pieces on the right side in the folder, and then I lay down the next largest pieces that are too big to fit in the pockets, and the smaller pieces are what will go in the pocket. Those are what were causing the bulk and bulging to happen in my file folders. That was getting me frustrated. So that is why I placed them in the side pockets. And I'm just playing with which way they go better. Each color varied, to be honest. I had scraps of all sizes and I had different amounts for each color, so it was just a question of playing with them to seeing how best to stuff the pockets so the file folder was not bulging in the middle or at the bottom, and they would just be easier to insert it back into the hanging files. After I was done putting the smaller pieces of paper in the pockets and keeping the larger pieces that didn't fit in the pockets inside the non-pocket side of the folder, I was able to close each file folder easily. I liked that they were flat and neat, nothing was sticking out, and it made putting these back into the hanging file folders inside the drawer easier, and it also created a lot more room in my drawer, so it wasn't as tight as it used to be. So I'm really happy with this, and I hope that this video was helpful for you in case you were struggling or you are struggling with storing the scraps as I was. So please, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please like, comment, share, and thanks for watching, and stay crafty.